The series begins right in the middle of a deadlocked quarterfinal basketball match between Beijing's Jingxi High and Shanghai's Shengqiang High, with both teams separated by just 1 point. And a little over a minute left in the fourth quarter, everyone, players and spectators alike, all waited anxiously for a miracle to happen so that the deadlock would be broken. In time, Peng Kai from Shengqiang High gets the ball from his teammates and makes a run for Jingxi High's hoop. Sadly, on his way to making the hoop, he runs into Jingxi High's most efficient point guard, Cheng Feng, who blocks every attempt he makes toward taking a shot till he eventually steals it and manages to win a turnover in their favor, just right before it goes out of bounds. Having seen this happen live on TV, the entire crowd erupts in joy, and the captain of the Jingxi High's team helps Cheng Feng get back on his feet. With the odds now tipped in their favor, the captain speaks to the whole team and encourages them all to fight like tigers once the timeout is over. As soon as the game resumes, both teams return to the court, and Jingxi High's players pass the ball skillfully towards Cheng Feng, who somehow manages to maneuver his way through the thick wall of Shengqiang players defending against him. Once he's got the ball, Cheng Feng, who's now unguarded, takes a set shot and scores 2 points for his team, putting them in the lead. The entire court erupts in joy as the Jingxi players build their morale back up to win them the game. During the next play, the Shengqiang players refuse to call a timeout and just race straight for Jingxi High's hoop. In just a few seconds, they seep through Jingxi's defense like butter, but just as they're about to complete a layup shot, Cheng Feng appears out of nowhere and blocks the shot. Upon recovering the ball, he races toward his opponent's hoop and stops midway to waste a little time as Peng Kai guards him. With only 14 seconds left on the clock, Cheng Feng skillfully slips past Peng Kai, breaking his ankle, and then swiftly maneuvers his way through the other two defenders to get to the opponent's hoop. With nobody left to guard him, Cheng Feng takes a leap of faith and dunks the ball, ending the match in a 68-61 point victory in favor of his high school, Jingxi High. Once the buzzer sounds, the entire team of Jingxi High rushes into the court and praises their only savior, Cheng Feng, as the captain and assistant captain of the school begin to see their school making it to the finals and winning the championship. To avoid dragging down their new star player, Cheng Feng, the captain, instructs his people to begin training for the semi-finals the next day, and they all oblige his wishes. Soon after, a narrator explains the concept of the top-level basketball league for high school teams in China, the National High School Basketball League. Currently, the league boasts of having the nation's best student athletes, all of whom compete for the gold medal as the ultimate dream and highest honor. Like other years, this year's prodigy, number 9 on the Beijing high school team, Cheng Feng, is the star everybody's looking out for. Upon mentioning some of his details, like height, weight, and progress over that same year, the narrator talks about the humiliating defeat Jingxi High suffered at the hands of another strong team from Beijing, the Beihai High basketball team, during the previous season's semi-finals. Now, Cheng Feng has stronger teammates, who have also decided to grow with him, and is believed to finally be able to defeat their old foe, Beihai High. As soon as the narration ends, we get to see our MC, Xu Qingze, staring at his laptop in a bullet train while on a trip to Beijing to start schooling at Jingxi High. After about an hour of boredom, Bro finally arrives at the Beijing station and alights from his train. In his first moments there, Xu puts on his face mask and receives a disappointing text from his sister, who apparently can't make it to the station to pick him up due to some last-minute celebrity call-up and whatnot. Knowing his sister pretty well, Xu ignores the text, calling her unreliable, and walks towards the exit to find a cab he can take to his sister's place. Soon after walking for a few seconds, he unintentionally passes by a huge man in a suit and gets a little shocked when the man in the suit starts following him really closely. After intentionally pretending not to know he's being followed, Xu suddenly turns behind to hit the man, but soon stops in his tracks when he doesn't find him there. As he turns, he faces the man who tells him he's the cab driver his sister hired to pick him up. To avoid getting abducted, Xu texts his sister to confirm if he's the driver, but then his sister replies, telling him he's an imposter. Realizing what's about to happen, Xu makes a run for it, and the man chases after him. Over the next few minutes, Xu runs for dear life, bumping into couples and even cutting corners just to make sure the guy doesn't catch up to him. Sadly, the man in the suit catches up to him and even holds his hands like a baby. Just as the duo's about to bump into a security man and cause trouble, the suited man raises Xu's hand and maneuvers their way around the security guard. When they get to the underground highway, Xu hauls his bag onto the deadlocked traffic and rushes past the suited man to get it. With this strategy, he finally gets past the man in the suit and wishes him farewell, thinking he was out of the woods. A few moments later, the suited man catches up to Xu Xingze in the parking lot elsewhere and forces him into his cab. When the little guy's finally seated, he spots his sister inside the cab with him and realizes that the chase and escape were all his sister's idea. Upon roasting each other like normal siblings do, Shu's sister finally settles to make him some roast duck for dinner to pacify him for her actions. With all that said, Shu forgets his ordeal from earlier and takes in the refreshing Beijing breeze. A few minutes into the drive, Shu asks his sister if she's truly helped him sort out everything about his enrollment in Jingxi High, and although his sister gets a little nervous when she hears the name, she comports herself and lies that it's all sorted out. To avoid further questions, she asks him why he's suddenly coming to Beijing to school, and Shu tells her that he's out looking for someone. Initially, his sis thought bro was out to get his middle school sweetheart or something, but eventually, Shu tells her he's looking for a dude, and she acts funny. Seeing this, Shu regrets some of his life's decisions, but then spots an advert for one of her products on a billboard. Upon asking her about it, his sister yaps about her life as a celebrity, but Shu ignores her to check out some amazing architecture in the city. Moments later, Shu's cab gets trapped in traffic, but as Shu thinks of what to do next, he spots an awesome basketballer alone in a street court near the road, just training his shots. Impressed by the guy's movements, Shu gets out of the cab to play with him and assures his sister that he'll be back home when he can. As soon as he joins the guy in the court, he spots him drinking some sports drink and asks the guy to play with him. When the guy doesn't budge, Shu shows off some of his skills, just so the guy is impressed enough to talk to him. When he still doesn't talk, Shu introduces himself, hoping the dude will finally let something out. At this point, the guy just outrightly ignores Shu's attempt to share contacts, picks up his cello bag, grabs the ball off Shu's hand, and leaves the court. A few hours later, Shu finally gets to his sister's house, only to find the entire place empty with no messages left. Realizing she's probably off for another meet and greet, Shu unpacks the basketball someone gave him back when he was much younger and places it somewhere exposed and safe. Then, he opens his laptop and stares at the court downstairs from his window, fully expecting nothing but greatness during his stay at Jingxi High. The next morning, Shu gets to the school listed on the address his sister gave him earlier, and, soon after encountering some weird things about the school, asks one of the students there if he's truly at Jingxi High. When the lady tells him he's at Jingbei High School, Shu apologizes for mistaking their school for Jingxi High and tries to retrace his steps so he can get to Jingxi High, which is next door. Sadly, before he gets far, the lady calls his full name and assures him that his name is on the enrollment list. By this time, Shu checks the name of the school on his application form and soon realizes that his brain-dead sister had accidentally enrolled him into Jingbei High School instead. After having a mini heart attack, Shu completes his enrollment into Jingbei High and phones his sister right away to complain over her incompetence. In her defense, Xingyu, his sister, tells him both schools are the same and urges him to just pay attention to his studies before she hangs up. At this point, Shu tries to call her several other times, but unfortunately, she can't reach her. A few hours later, Shu, alongside all the other newbies, is driven to a weird military-like base, where they're made to undergo intense training like military cadets, till they fall off. Amid their training, they spot the Jingxi basketball team having it easy and get jealous. As Shu curses his sister under his breath, the person beside him, a chubby dude, hears him and introduces himself as Sima Chenquan, a plus-sized dude who's also a good baller. Impressed by Sima's presentation skills, Shu shakes hands with him and tells him he'd love to play sometime. Just then, Sima suggests they play now, but as Shu's about to talk the chubby dude out of pulling off any tricks, bro feigns a sickness and collapses right after foaming at his mouth. Soon after, Shu gathers a group and convinces the instructors to get Sima to the clinic. Moments later, the duo sneaks out of the clinic and scales a few fences to get to the basketball court around camp. There, they spot a dude from Jingbei High taking on a few other bullies from Jingxi High in a game of basketball. One time, the guy from their school, Four Eyes, does a feigned shot and then tries to score a shot, but unfortunately for him, he gets blocked and is scored on in return by the bullies. Right after beating the guy at his own game, the Jingxi boys tease him, calling him a half-assed player, but then stop when Shu Xingze and Sima show up on court, armed and ready to face the bullies, and show them who's boss. Realizing that adding two more losers can't hurt, the bullies allow Sima and Shu to join Four Eyes to play against them on the court. After a few more small talks, Sima embarrasses himself and wastes some time till they eventually get themselves ready to play. Some minutes later, Sima gets the ball, makes a feint, but then gets blocked by another hanky-panky dude. Upon losing the layup to an ambush, Shu recovers the ball, and right after talking shit to the Jingxi bullies, bounces the ball and maneuvers his way through the bastards to get to the hoop. Just when he's about to complete his layup, Su recalls one of his memories with Cheng Feng back when he was younger. That evening on the court, Cheng Feng taught him the left-handed layup, a move that people severely underestimate in basketball, and advised him to use that skill as his last resort, in case nothing seems to be working. By this time, the hanky-panky dude from earlier jumps high enough to block Shu's layup. However, just as the guy's about to push the ball off Shu's hand, Shu switches hands and does a left-handed layup to win the point against the bullies. Right after completing the move, Shu expresses his disappointment in Jingxi High's skills and wishes they played better. A few few months later, in Shu's memory, little Shu is seen crying on the day he found out Cheng Feng will be leaving for Jingxi High soon. Although Cheng's pretty sad too that he'll be leaving his favorite older brother, he does make a promise to little Sue that they will find each other very soon in the future, and leaves poor Shu with his special ball shortly afterward. Back in the present time, Shu and Sima allow Four Eyes to have one-on-one playtime with the biggest bully on the other team. Sadly, even after doing his best to guard that bastard, the big guy ends up scoring his point and beating Four Eyes at his own game. As the insults roll in, Shu and Sima rush to ensure their buddy is doing okay. However, Shu still keeps his eye on the bully, just to make sure bro isn't getting too comfortable with that little win. Soon after, the game continues, but this time, a short lady squeezes her way through the crowd and gets to the front line, just to record Shu and Sima's gameplay for research purposes. Thankfully, the Shu and Sima duo don't disappoint as the chubby one skillfully maneuvers his way through the small fries to get to the big one. When he quickly realizes he can't get past the big guy, Sima passes the ball to Shu, who's free, and together, they score an easy point via a layup shot. Seeing this, the whole crowd erupts in happiness, and the play continues. At one point in the next round, the big guy gets seriously guarded by Shu himself. Just when he passes the ball to his other free teammate, Shu intercepts the pass like the Flash and plays as quickly as he can, passing the ball to Sima till they eventually score another point to lead the Jingxi bullies by 2 games. Over the next few games, Shu and Sima score as many points as they can to eventually beat the shit out of the Jingxi bullies. During the final play, Shu intercepts the big bully one more time, but then accidentally throws the ball into the crowd, and it hits the short lady in the forehead, causing her phone to fall out of her hand and break. Just as the lady tries to scold Shu for being a shithead, the instructor shows up pissed off at Shu and Sima for deceiving him earlier, and then drags them back to the training grounds for punishment. At the same time, the handsome dude, who had ignored Shu earlier on his way to his sister's apartment, leaves the court right after watching Shu and Sima play and beat the bullies stupid. In time, the boys return to Jingbei High's campus and get to watch the various clubs showcase their talent. Soon, Shu tries to text his sister, but since she isn't responding, he gets worried and hopes she's fine. Just then, Sima throws a used bottle on the floor, but then a cleaning robot approaches the bottle and cleans it up for him. Upon meeting the Faces, aka the club behind the creation of such a robot, Sima sighs and complains about the high school being too focused on academic pursuits and not athletic ones. When Shu asks him what he means, Sima mentions all the clubs he's seen so far and points out that there haven't been any athletic clubs around yet. Having said all this, he throws a tantrum over some crickets, but then stops when he overhears a few female students rushing toward a student he initially thought was him. In due time, though, reality dawns on him as he realizes that the girls were only fawning over some guy named Yun Mo. When Shu gets a good look at this Yun Mo guy, he soon recognizes him to be the guy from the random street court the other day. Soon after, Sima angrily names a few good rumors flying around school concerning the guy, including the fact that he's the most handsome guy in the entire school, and then throws a tantrum for being too fat and ugly. As Shu tries to comment on everything Sima just said, his sister responds to his text, and, upon checking it out, Shu runs away somewhere private to get on a video call with his sister. While on the call, Bro vents out his frustration at his sister for going behind his back and treating him like that. At this point, Xingyu, who's seriously tired of his tantrums, tells him not to disturb her anymore and just enjoy his new school. When Shu threatens to drop out of school, Xingyu dares him to try it, but then he hangs up instantly. Seconds later, the short lady from earlier catches up to Shu and reminds him about her forehead and phone. Upon remembering the incident, Shu apologizes for doing all those things, but then the lady demands reimbursement as she knows an apology won't do her any good. Knowing fully well that he's dead broke and can't ask for money from his sister yet, Shu asks the lady to give him 3 days so he can reimburse. But the lady refuses, threatening to go to his sister and complain to her instead. In time, Shu calls her back and begs her to give him just 3 days to pay her back, so they can move on. This time, however, the lady changes her mind and promises Shu that she will forget about the whole incident on one condition. With nothing to lose, Shu follows the lady to Jingbei High's basketball court and gets the shock of his life when the girl tells him to join the school's basketball team if he wants her to forget about the entire ordeal. Before he gives his response, she introduces herself as the first manager of Jingbei's basketball team, Gu Liao Liao, or Liao for short. Thereafter, Sima and Four Eyes show up with their applications filled and converse with the lady a little bit while she checks their information. When they all turn to Shu for his reply, Bro heaves a sigh of relief and refuses to join the basketball team, stating that he's aspiring to join the Jingxi team instead, and would rather reimburse her for the phone. Having that accursed high school's name from Shu, Liao freaks out and warns Shu never to mention such a forbidden name ever again, as the history between both schools is one that runs as deep and old as time itself. So far, both schools, being neighbors, have hosted friendly matches once every year just to strengthen their friendship, but recently, they've been trashing Jingbei High so much that it's embarrassing at this point. Notwithstanding, Liao says it wasn't always like that, because during the reign of their former principal, Jingbei High's basketball team played and won lots of tournaments. However, with him gone, the high school started tipping towards academic excellence, and Jingbei started losing to Jingxi High School once again. If not for the valiant efforts of their captain, Feng Jialiang, their high school wouldn't have a basketball team anymore, so they need all the hands they can get to revive such a team from the ground up. Having heard all this, Shu asks about the other members, who are busy doing homework, and even after seeing them do their stuff, he still wishes them well and leaves. At this point, Liao tries to guilt-trip him into getting into the team as a Jingbei High School student, but then, Shu tells them that he will soon be joining the Jingxi basketball team and says a few more gibberish words before he leaves. Realizing Shu's a no-show, Liao gives up and talks with the other two before leaving them in the hands of their dreadful captain, Feng. Later that evening, Shu Xingze visits that same random court and finds Yunmo practicing alone as usual. This time, he tries a different approach and talks about the school they both attend for now, but when he takes a shot to show off, he misses badly and continues yapping about his behavior the other day and the fact that they attend the same school. In time, Yunmo, who's just finished packing up his stuff, gets tired of Shu's yapping and then asks him how all those things he's saying apply to him. When Shu continues yapping about how they'll be adversaries, Yun just sighs, gets his ball back from Shu, and leaves the confused dude wondering about his weirdness. By nightfall, Yunmo returns home, hides his basketball outside, and enters his mother's apartment to find his dinner, braised prawns, already prepared for him. As she serves both of them, Yun's mother asks him about cello practice, and Yun lies and tells her it's going well. While on his way to wash up, she tells him about the past questions she got from someone earlier, and urges him to take a look at them after dinner. Again, Yunmo ignores his mother, but she continues talking about the upcoming results and his grades, hoping he's taking academics seriously this time. The next morning, during hoop practice, Sima and Four Eyes train together, but soon figure out that they're no good together. At that same moment, Liao, who's pretty disappointed to have only recruited 2 new members, talks about her bad luck, when suddenly, Sima slams the ball at her forehead yet again. This time, rather than take it easy with both of them, she flares up and chases the fool all around the court until the student council president, Guan Xin, shows up elegantly dressed as usual. Upon setting his eyes on her, Sima looks up instantly and explains Guan Xin's popularity to Four Eyes as the student council president. In time, Guan Xin presents the application Liao submitted for the basketball team earlier and assures her that it's been approved this time around. Seeing this, Liao thanks her for the help and then explains the current situation with the basketball team to her. While Guan's about to encourage her, Sima shows off his skills and gets Guan to smile at him. Soon after she's gone, Bro melts like butter and acts like a fool until Liao wakes him up by slamming her fists into his head and reminding the chubby dude that they have a lot to do to win this time around. Eventually, she thinks of a way to get some information about Jingxi High, and then asks Sima what size he wears. Moments later, Liao, Sima, and Four Eyes all dress undercover in Jingxi's gym uniforms and sneak into the neighboring school. There, Liao laughs at Sima's movements, and only stops when Shu shows up and asks about her weird uniform. Well, Liao lies that they're all getting a tour around their neighboring school, but then asks Shu where he got the gym uniform he's wearing. By this time, Shu tells her he got it from their captain, Feng Jianlang, and Liao fumes over how crazy and unreliable that is. To avoid any trouble, Shu ends the subject and pushes Liao further into Jingxi's premises so they can enjoy themselves. Upon laughing at Sima's weird outfit one more time, the trio eventually blend in to enjoy the beautiful scenery of their rival school, Jingxi High, including their sports, academic, and extracurricular activities. When they're done, Liao checks the notice board for the basketball court, but then Shu, upon seeing and recognizing someone who looks like Cheng Feng, leaves them and follows the dude wherever he's going. As soon as she figures out where the basketball court is, Liao tells Sima about it, only to realize that Shu, who was just there, is missing. While they search for him, Shu keeps following the number 9 guy till he gets to the school's gymnasium, aka the space where the basketball court is. Seeing this, Sue hurriedly follows the guy inside, but soon gets lost inside when he doesn't see the guy anymore. For a few moments, he searches all over for the guy he just saw, and soon realizes that he's trapped in a maze. Soon after, he walks through the school's Hall of Fame, admiring all the trophies and pictures on there, till he eventually bumps into the number 9 player he was following earlier. In the meantime, Liao and Sima soon manage to find their way into the Jingxi High School basketball court. While Sima checks out the hard arithmetic on the board, Liao makes sure to observe the entire court and take as many pictures of their expensive equipment as possible. Soon after, Sima leaves the arithmetic on the chalkboard and tests out all their expensive gym equipment. Right after nearly killing himself from lifting too heavy, he joins Liao to check out the Jingxi High School's secret secret basketball team room. Inside the dimly lit room, Liao steps on top of Sima to get a peek inside, but eventually topples him over, just to get inside and see what the fuss is all about. Soon, she spots their tactics board and checks out the defensive tactic the players plan to use in their next matchup against them, the star-shaped offense, made specifically for their number 9 player. Upon imagining how skilled that number 9 would be, Liao freaks out and continues taking pictures. Meanwhile, Xu Xingze, having bumped into the number 9 player he was following earlier, gets confused when the player stares back at him and asks the dude to tell him his name. In response, the number 9 player, aka Deng Shuhao, asks Shu to explain why he's been following him. Shocked to hear this, Shu stutters and lies that he just happened to be passing by. To avoid further suspicion, he pretends to check out the awards lying around there, but eventually asks the tall player why he's wearing the number 9 jersey. This time, Deng ignores the fool's question, but before he goes out of sight, Shu asks Deng if he knows someone known as Cheng Feng. At that point, Deng frowns seriously at Shu and warns him never to talk about such a person in front of him again. Even still, Shu follows the tall guy into the training court, asking him why he hates Cheng so much. In response, Deng tells him it's because that dude isn't worthy to play at their court, and Shu freaks out. Upon apologizing to the other players for the disturbance, the other players, who were silent initially, recognize Shu from the little practice session they all had during camp and talk shit about their team, which they'll be playing against the next week. Ignoring all the BS, Shu confronts Deng and demands to know what's up. This time, Deng calls Shu another guy who can't stand to lose, just like Cheng Feng. This time, Shu refuses to let this slide, so when Deng takes a shot just for practice, Shu runs towards the hoop and blocks it, shocking Deng in the process. Upon getting the full attention of the court, Shu faces Deng and challenges him to practice with him. Moments later, the entire court is filled up with other players, who are all eager to watch the confrontation between Deng Shuhao and the infamous kid who just showed up at the last minute. Deng proposes a one-on-one match play with 5 possessions with Shu Xingze, and he accepts all the conditions laid down. To begin their little match, Shu gets hold of the ball first and swiftly maneuvers his way through Deng's defense to score his first point. Right after scoring Deng, Bro gets a very smug look on his face, and then throws the ball to Deng so he can make his play. Without fail, Deng jumps for a shot, and eventually scores a 3-pointer just like that to earn 2 points. During Su's turn, Deng guards him seriously and easily steals the ball from him. Just as Shu's about to go for defense, Deng takes another jump shot and scores a point. During the next play, Shu takes a moment to figure out his opponent. So far, he doesn't understand why Deng takes shots from afar instead of just breaking through his defense and playing him like normal. In time though, he swiftly moves past Deng, but just as he's about to score a point, Deng pops in from behind and blocks his shot, after which he scores a slam dunk and advises Shu not to push his luck. By this time, Shu's already losing way worse than normal, so he considers stopping the play, as the other players were already making fun of him. Elsewhere, Sima and Liao continue taking pictures, taking their sweet time, right until a huge player named Xiaohan appears behind them, demanding to know what the hell they're doing there. Over the next few minutes, Sima and Liao lie their arses off just to make sure they don't get caught or get in trouble. Lucky for them, someone shows up and talks to the captain, Xiao, about Shu's challenge against Deng Shuhao. Realizing that he's the one confronting the dude, Liao and Sima follow the captain and that player to the court to check things out. Meanwhile, Shu takes his sweet time figuring out a good strategy to beat Deng with. Upon remembering something from his past, he swiftly moves past Deng and gets to the hoop. However, as he notices Deng coming to block his shot, he feints the first one and scores the second one. During the turnover, Deng tries something different, but soon stops when he notices Shu reading all his moves like clockwork. To end things as quickly as possible, Deng pushes Shu out of the way and takes a jump shot. Before it gets in, the real captain, Xiao, shows up and throws the ball off balance with another ball. When Deng throws a tantrum, the captain scolds him for going off training, and Shu also spots Sima and Liao near the so-called captain. Before he knows it, Sima frolics all over him, praising Shu for challenging those guys. But when the real captain, Xiao, urges the others to leave the court, Shu approaches him and stupidly asks him about Cheng Feng. In response, Xiao tells him there's nobody with that name on their team, but then Shu keeps on pressuring him to tell him what happened. At this point, Deng Shuhao holds the bastard by the throat and scolds him for always talking big about Cheng Feng. Since he wants to know what happened to Cheng Feng so badly, the dude tells him that he was kicked out of their basketball team since he's a no-good jerk who doesn't deserve to play the sport. Having heard such insulting words being said towards his idol, Shu holds Deng by the throat, but before things escalate, Liao and Sima intervene and drag the bastard back to their lackluster school. Before Shu disappears out of sight, Deng urges him to face him on the court the next time they meet, if he seriously feels he has the skill to face him. Shu remains remains silent as he pictures their next matchup. Now, back at his real school, Shu washes his face in the bathroom and recalls all the things the Jingshi dude said to him earlier on the court. While Sima, who's beside him, does his best to cheer his buddy up, Shu assures Sima that Cheng Feng, his idol, is not the kind of person to just quit and disappoint everybody just like that. There's something they're not telling him, and he needs to know what happened. Seizing this opportunity, Sima encourages Shu Xingze to join the school team, so they can show those bastards who's boss the next time they meet on the court, which will be the following week. Around this time, one doofus taking a shit in one of the stalls busts out looking energetic, and tells Shu that if they're looking to challenge and take down Deng Shuhao, then he's game and up for it. In the next scene, Liao gets another amazing player on her team, Duan Boding, who seems to be very obsessed with bringing down Deng Shuhao for some weird reason. While she glazes him, Jingbei's captain, Cheng Jiang, approaches Shu and Sima, and tells them that the guy joining has some sort of history with Deng Shuhao from back in their junior high days. During that time, Duan had a physique way more advanced and defined than other kids his age. Due to that gift, he dominated the court in his age group. Sadly, his glory was short-lived when he got to face Deng Shuhao in a matchup. Being a year younger than Duan and having more raw talent than Duan, Deng dominated the court and left Duan in the shadows. Ever since Duan took the big hit and failed to surpass Deng Shuhao, people started calling him Discount Deng Shuhao, and he became an average Joe. Despite all that, the captain knows Duan isn't a guy to let such things go, as he will be waiting to prove himself to the other people when he gets his chance. With this, and every other thing he's witnessed so far, Shu finally joins the team, promising to beat the Jingshi High School team together, and Liao smiles so widely that she slams Sima to the ground, and officially announces the official reopening of the Jingbei basketball team. Later that evening, while Shu practices on the random street court, waiting for Yunmo, he spots two friends from Jingbei and Jingshi high schools just going home together and having fun like they should be. Although jealous of their friendship, he stays and waits for his silent buddy to show up soon enough so they can talk. When Yun doesn't show up, Shu writes him a letter and places it under Yun's favorite sports drink, before leaving to answer his sister's calls. Eventually, he tells his sister he's not transferring anymore, and she couldn't be any happier to hear this. When Yunmo finally arrives on the court by nightfall, he finds the letter from Shu, inviting him to watch the game between their schools the following week. About a week later, on the day of the friendly match between Jingshi and Jingbei, the Jingshi players arrive at the court pretty early to warm themselves up for the impending game. After spending about an hour training, they all start wondering if the Jingbei high school students are thinking of sitting this one out just because they're scared of losing. One of them, Chen, says Shu doesn't look like a coward, but just as the others scold him for defending them, the Jingbei students arrive for the game dressed like train wrecks. For a few seconds, they get to do their walk of fame, but eventually, their time elapses, and they all get laughed at by the other students, who insult Sue and Sima for their weird wardrobe choice. After further embarrassing themselves, Shu ruins any little aura they all have left by asking Jingshi's captain to tell him where the locker rooms are. In response, the captain tells Zhu that the lockers were located on their way to the court, and the entire court burst into even more laughter. As Liao and the others sink their heads in embarrassment, Duan Boding slams a basketball on the floor to get the attention of everyone on the court. When he eventually does, he dunks the same ball, which is still mid-air, after which he stares at his teammates and asks them if they're now ready to play the game. Seeing him brings happiness and smiles to the faces of Shu and Liao as they all get this renewed sense of hope that things just might go well with him around. In time, while the players warm up, Liao places her phone on her tripod stand and broadcasts a live feed of the court's activities to Jingbei High's forum, making sure to keep her non-existent audience posted on every single activity going on in the court, including the tactics from the opponent's side. At a point, one of the boys from Jingshi High says hi to her, but Liao, or Miss Bob Cut as they call her, shies away and continues recording. A few minutes later, the players gear up and line up mid-court to wait for the whistle to start. While they wait, Duan Boding searches the opponent's lineup for Deng Shuhao, but is then shocked when he doesn't find the guy amongst them. When one of the opponents hears him and Shu talking about this, he interrupts them and assures them that they, being the bench players, are all Jingshi needs to defeat them. Realizing that the bozos are seriously underestimating them, Liao keeps quiet and continues waiting for the impossible to happen. A minute later, the ref starts the game with a jump ball, but, to Jingshi's surprise, Duan Boding jumps high enough and flicks the ball to his side of the court. Sadly, his push ends up being so much that it hits Liao in the face again. With this, Liao understandably gets pissed at the cocky Nimrod and expresses her frustration. Upon engaging in some small talk, the play continues. It's Jingshi's turn to play ball. After the first pass back into court, the Jingshi players swiftly maneuver through Sima, and even manage to block their point guard, Duan, with a pick-and-roll maneuver. Soon enough, they get to the captain and use the same strategy to outpace outpace him as well. By this time, it's them versus the hoop. As soon as the Jingxi player leaps toward the hoop for a layup, Duan shows up to block him. This time, however, the guy aborts his layup and passes to his free teammate standing by the corner for a corner three-pointer. With nobody to guard the guy, he successfully makes the three-pointer and moves back to restart the play. Around this time, Liao and the Jingbei students can see the teamwork between the Jingxi students, but despite that, they're still not fretting as they know they'll play much better than before. On the next play, Duan takes control of the ball swiftly, blocking out his teammates, and runs straight for the hoop. When he gets there, he pushes the point guard out of the way slightly and scores the two-pointer for his team. On his way back to midcourt, Duan ignores Shu cheering him up, and, right after Jingxi misses a point, retrieves the ball, ignores his teammates, who urge him to pass them the ball, and goes straight for the hoop to score again. Again, he outmaneuvers the point guard and scores an easy layup to get them back in the lead. Over the next few minutes, Duan Boding hoards the ball, refusing to pass to his teammates, and scores as many points as possible. In one of his plays, Bro slam dunks on the opponent's side so hard that even Deng had to be impressed by this impressive play. As for Shu and Sima, they frown at him for stealing all the glory, but Duan ignores them and keeps his gaze peeled on Deng Shuhao. At a point in the match, Deng's teammates advise their star player to honor Duan's challenge and join the play, but then again, Deng isn't doing that yet, as he tells them that a sudden burst of passion can't win the match for anybody. Just then, the Jingxi's coach screams out some orders to the players, urging them to remember their training and telling them to get back into formation. Almost immediately, the Jingxi players switch to zone defense and manage to block every passing opportunity the Jingbei players might have. Soon after being deadlocked for a few seconds, Duan becomes impatient and runs to Sima. Then, he yanks the ball from poor Sima and takes a shot, which he misses, giving Jingxi Hai a free rebound. Now that they have the ball, Jingxi counterattacks Jingbei and scores an easy 2 points against them. Liao, upon seeing this, gets pissed and screams at her players to ensure they play as a team and not separately. When Duan gets the ball again, he arrogantly pushes forward and loses the ball instantly to the opponent. With the Jingxi players now with the ball, Sima and Shou instantly switch to defensive and dish out instructions to the others so they can execute the zone defense perfectly. Seeing this, the Jingxi players wait for an opening till they almost run out of time. When the ref counts down to their turnover, the ball handler rushes a shot and misses. Almost instantly, Duan flicks the ball to Shu, who grabs it and gets ready for a very serious offense. Upon catching his breath, Shu races pretty quickly past all the Jingxi defenders, shocking even Duan Boding himself, and making an easy two-pointer from the free throw line. On the next play, Jingbei steals the ball easily from the Jingxi players and scores the next few points pretty easily. Some minutes into the second quarter, Jingxi's coach notes Shu to be the best player in Jingbei's team, so he urges his defenders to guard him at all costs. The only flaw in such a strategy is that this will leave other players like Sima and the captain way too open. So, as soon as Shu notices the change in their play, he passes the ball to Sima midcourt, who easily scores a three-pointer, bringing Jingbei much closer to Jingxi in terms of points scored. In the final minute of the first half, Jingxi gets the ball, but then Liao urges her people to defend the ball with all they've got so they can preserve the lead. By then, Shu manages to steal the ball from the players and pass it to Sima. Realizing this is their final chance to take the lead, Sima urges his boys to take things slow and then passes to Shu, who easily maneuvers his way through the defenders to get to the hoop. There, the defender jumps up to guard him, but before Shu loses the ball, he passes to Duan Boding, who's free, and he slam dunks the ball into the hoop to put Jingbei high in the lead for the first half. With the second quarter over, Liao and the other Jingbei players rejoice over finally being in the lead for the first time in history. Even Duan, the cocky fool, compliments Shu's earlier pass before going to rest. Some minutes later, Yun Mo, who's in class, overhears a few students near him talking about the scores of the game happening currently at halftime. Contrary to what it usually was, one can say it's a miracle this even happened. By this time, Liao calls her people together and, right after encouraging them to bring home the win, does the team's first huddle cheer in ages. When all's been said and done, Su spots Duan staring at Deng Shuhao, and soon figures out that the guy's going to start the next half, meaning Duan finally got his challenge honored. By the time the second half of the match begins, Duan gets guarded by his arch-nemesis, Deng, after so long, but just when he jumps up to score, Deng easily blocks his shot and passes to his other teammates, who make a run for the opposite hoop to score. For a moment, Duan gets a chance to guard Deng, but before he can even blink, Deng zooms past him like the wind and makes a move to get a layup. Refusing to let him go, Duan jumps to block the ball, but then Deng uses his raw strength to offset Duan's block and ends up not only making the point but also winning his team a foul in their favor. After easily scoring the free throw, Deng takes Jingbei seriously and ends up scoring so many points that the lead only widens with every passing minute. In time, Duan gets even angrier, till he eventually gets dunked on by Deng in a very embarrassing manner. Soon after enduring such humiliation, humiliation a second time from the same guy, Duan remembers his final moments of glory back in junior high and relives that same experience right on the court. During a timeout called by Jingbei, Duan zones out completely, doing his best not to think too much about the humiliation he just endured from Deng's hands. To help him snap out of whatever he's feeling, Liao pours some water on Duan's head and lets him know that she did that just to pay him back for being a jerk earlier. When she asks him about his competition with Deng, Duan covers his head in shame and tells Liao and the others that he's already lost the match with Deng, so there's no need. To lift his spirits, Shu gets up and assures Duan that he's not the only one losing, as they'll proudly lose with him if that's what it takes to help him understand that they're there to support him. Around this time, Duan gets a little better and does the next huddle cheer with his team. After the timeout, Deng gets guarded pretty well by Shu this time, who zooms straight for the other side and scores a good point, right after passing the ball around. During his next play, Deng gets guarded pretty efficiently by two players till he's forced to pass the ball to a free teammate who easily scores the next point. Rather than feel sad for messing things up, Shu encourages his team to keep playing, so they play to the best of their abilities till they score yet another point. For the final play in the last minute, Shu and his team operate on a coordinated defense and even manage to keep Deng at bay for a few seconds till the game ends in Jingshi's victory. Mind you, even though Jingshi won the game, Jingbei's players managed to get very close this time, and this alone was worth more to them than anything. Soon after the match ends, the captain shows up and tells Shu that his idol, Cheng Feng, has transferred to another school but hasn't been kicked out of the team. Hearing this, Shu asks the captain when they can play again, and the guy tells him to make it to the National League first before they can talk. Later that evening, Shu shows up at the random court and throws a tantrum in front of Yunmo over losing to Jingshi. When Yun finally tells him about the point difference, Shu, who's shocked the guy even watched the match, asks him if he saw the note he left him earlier. When Yun refuses to answer him, he stops one of his shots from going in and asks him why he didn't come to participate in the match so they could win. In response, Yun tells him that even if they won, they'll have won against their bench players, which is worse. As Yu's about to say something else, Yunmo urges him not to be so naive and then assures him that he's not joining the team at all. Also, for some advice, he tells Shu to work on making it past the prelims before thinking of making it into the National League to play Jingshi. Having said all that, Bro picks his ball up and leaves the court like the arrogant bastard that he is. A few days later, Shu visits the random court where Yunmo trains and practices some of his shots alone, all while remembering the things Yunmo told him about qualifying for the National League. Across Beijing alone, about 112 schools are participating in the league, with only about 20 or so schools having a good basketball history. As such, if Jingbei wishes to face Jingshi sometime in the future, then they should aim to make it to the top 28 schools. To do that, however, they have to face and beat some good teams in the knockout rounds, and to be honest, their current level of play isn't even close to that spot yet. Realizing that Yunmo is telling the truth, Shu gets frustrated and gets even more encouraged to play with Jingshi in the league sometime in the future. Shortly after practice, Shu visits the nearest diner around the corner and walks straight to the counter right after seeing all the weird things they have on their menu to order a cup of soy milk. When the server tells him they don't have such an item available, Shu asks for a few more food items that they don't seem to have. In due time, the server realizes Shu isn't from around Beijing, so he asks him a few questions, only to have Shu reveal that he's from Shanghai instead, but doesn't know what to eat now that he's there. With this, the server smiles happily and urges Shu to try out their signature bowl of fried liver stew, together with some sides which he recommends. Upon hearing all the good things there's to hear about this dish, Shu asks for double servings, only to get disappointed when he sees the dish looking weird and gloomy. As he sits there, hesitant to eat his food, a kid shows up beside him and slurps down his fried liver stew. Thereafter, he recognizes Shu and tells him his big brother showed him a video of him playing basketball earlier. When Shu asks the kid who his big brother is, the kid tells him his brother is the academic and athletic genius, Yunmo. Hearing this, Shu freaks out and asks the kid to tell him what Yunmo said about his playing style. However, before the kid reveals such an important detail, he asks Shu to bribe him first. Around that same time, Yunmo, getting ready to leave his home for cello practice, walks to the spot where he keeps his basketball, but is then shocked when he doesn't find it there. Just when he's about to start looking for it, his mother pops out of nowhere holding the basketball and asks him if that's what he's looking for. Knowing fully well that he's cooked, Yunmo keeps quiet and just keeps looking. Elsewhere, Sue buys the kid 2 ice cream cones and continues pressuring him to tell him what his big brother said about his game. Rather than tell him, the kid, later identified as Pai Shu, ensures he finishes eating the second cone before telling Shu to piss off as he makes a run for it. At this point, Shu decides he's not letting that little twerp get away with such bullshit. So, he grabs Pai by his hair and demands that he spill the beans right now, or he won't let him go. When Pai threatens to call his brother to beat him up, Shu welcomes the idea, citing that he's ready to fight. But thankfully, before things escalate, Duo spots Yunmo standing in front of a woman holding a basketball and hide before they're found. Right after showing her son his hidden basketball, Yunmo's mother asks him if he remembers his promise to her from back then. With no response given, she remains silent and walks back into the apartment with her son's favorite basketball, leaving him all alone outside. Moments later, on his way to cello practice, Yunmo spots a few old heads playing on the court he used to practice on and gets ready to continue moving. Just then, Shu shows up with his brother, Shu, and invites him to practice with them on the court. In response, Yunmo rejects their invitation and urges both of them to play with each other. After trying and failing to persuade him to play with them, Pai tries doing the cute thing children do to get you to do what they want, and eventually, that gets Yunmo to get on the court with them. Soon after getting his brother in, Pai approaches the old heads and challenges them to a game of 3-on-3. Initially, the old heads talk about teaching the little guy a few moves and stuff, citing that they're not into clowning children and all that. But then again, Pai shows off some of his skills, as short as he is, and scores a few points to impress them. Right after that, he talks a lot about his big bro and Shu till he eventually convinces the old heads to play with them. To start their match, they throw the ball at Pai and tell his team to go first. For the rules, a team will only win if it can score 10 points first. Once the match is over, the losers will be made to eat the ball for dinner. With all that said, Pai passes to Shu and urges him to go for their first point. When Shu looks at Yunmo, hoping he'll take over, Bro tells Shu to just keep playing as he's in a bad mood, and Shu, irritated by Yoon's response, moves through the court and towards the hoop to score the first point. As he gets guarded, he throws the ball towards Yunmo, who just catches the ball standing and throws it to Pai to make the shot. Without wasting any time, short off Pai makes the throw, but unfortunately gets his shot blocked by the old head guarding him. With the old heads now in possession of the ball, they pass the ball swiftly through Shu's defense, score their first point, and brag about being good and whatnot. Before the next play, Shu approaches Yoon and urges him to cheer up, but since the guy's still being an idiot, Shu ignores him and continues the play. Upon doing his best to guard the old heads, Shu makes a mistake and costs his team to concede a point. Again, before the next play, the old heads stop to yap on and on about bagging the prettiest girl in school, until Pai accidentally passes the ball to one of them, and concedes another point for the team, despite Shu's very attempt to guard the old head handling the ball. In time, the game restarts. But before the old heads play, they talk about how unfair it is for them to play 3 against 2, and then suggest they repick teams. Upon refusing to repick teams, Shu brings Pai closer to himself, and then tells him to let him focus on defense for now, so he can take his shots each time he sees an opening. With Pai understanding the style of play, they all get back into formation. Pai distracts one of the old heads handling the ball, and Shu easily steals the ball from him. Thereafter, he passes the ball to Pai, who grabs the ball, maneuvers his way through the old heads guarding him, and scores a nice 2-pointer against them. Now this move shocks the old heads so much that they couldn't believe the kid made a basket. While Shu cheers the kid on for making the basket, Yunmo recalls one of his basketball idols from middle school, saying the same thing to him back when he was younger, and gasps in surprise at how similar they both are. On the next play, Shu swiftly seeps through the old heads, passes the ball elegantly to his new shooter, and watches Pai score yet another good 2-pointer. Up next, Shu gets the ball and pretends to pass to Pai, who's standing at the corner, to deceive the old head guard guarding him. When the old head realizes that he's been had, it's already too late, as Shu not only returns to his position but also scores an easy layup. Seeing this, P praises Shu for executing such a nice move, and then asks him to teach him such a move. In response, Shu frolics all around Yunmo and teases him over something. While Shu continues teasing the brothers, the old heads call themselves together and decide to guard Shu Singze with everything they've got. So, on the next play, they double mark him, but then Shu, upon realizing what they're trying to do, asks what they plan on doing about Yunmo, who is free as a bird, and the old heads tell him they're not going to bother as they now know that he's got no game. To prove them wrong, Shu throws the ball at Yunmo, but then the doofus throws it back, due to his pettiness. At this point, one of the old heads easily steals the ball from Shu and scores a point. Seeing this, Shu freaks the hell out and soon calms down when he spots Yunmo smiling at him. Upon noticing the smile, Shu repeats yet another phrase Yunmo's idol used to tell him back in the days. But this time, Pai loses all hope of them winning the match because the old heads have already scored 8 baskets. Knowing this, Shu encourages him to keep playing till the end, so by the time the next game begins, Shu passes to Pai and runs past Yunmo, whispering for him to go catch the ball, before getting past him. In time, Pai passes the ball to Yunmo, but when the fool just stands there, staring, the ball gets past him and nearly goes out of bounds. Thankfully, before that happens, Shu jumps at the ball and throws it back into Yun's hands. Realizing Yunmo's about to make a shot, an old head rushes toward him to guard him, but then, Yunmo skillfully outmaneuvers the old head and eventually takes the leap to shoot his shot. In just a few seconds, Mo gets his groove back on and scores the point. When Shu tries to high-five him, the bro refuses and just continues doing his thing. Over the next few games, Mo scores as many points as he can, all while working together with Shu and his little brother, Shu, till they eventually catch up to the old heads, and even beat them by one more point. With only 1 point left till the young bloods win, the old heads do their best to guard them to the best of their abilities. Unfortunately for them, however, Pai makes a 200 IQ move and gets his brother free. With this, Shu passes the ball for an alley-oop, and the athletic Mo dunks the alley-oop so fashionably that even Shu was shocked. With the game now over, Pai teases poor Shu so badly that he gets a mini heart attack. With all that said, Shu high-fives Mo again, but this time, bro returns the favor. Thereafter, the old heads start preaching the good news to the youngsters to always remain steadfast in their games and make sure to play for their high school team and whatnot. When Shu tells them Mo and he are on the basketball team, the old heads wish them luck and then continue yapping on and on about who gets to pay for dinner. In time, Pai reminds them of the bet, and since they lost, he makes them eat the ball. Meanwhile, Shu approaches Mo, who's already packing his stuff to leave, and urges him to join the Jingbei school team. In response, Yoon tells Shu to find a better coach and leaves. When he gets back home, however, Mo checks out a textbook from his old storage box and recalls one of the memories he has of his middle school experience. Eventually, he picks up Shu's letter and reads it one more time. Upon recollecting what Shu told him about joining the basketball team, Mo searches Shu Xingze's username on social media and contemplates sending him a friend request so they can become friends online. A few days later, Jingbei's elite math teacher, Mr. Lee, visits the director's office to request that he become the school's basketball team's official coach effective immediately. Upon receiving Lee's request, Liu, the school's director, initially passes his passion off as wishful thinking, suggesting that Mr. Lee should just continue teaching math and winning the school more math Olympiad medals. However, when Lee realizes this, he threatens to resign from his position as the school's elite math teacher if he's not taken seriously. Seeing how dead serious Lee is about becoming the school's coach, he finally decides to give him a chance. So, on the next Wednesday of that same week, on the night before their first big game with one of their opponents, Lingquan High, Shu Xingze goes to sleep as early as 7 p.m. But then his sister, who's eager to go shopping with him, knocks on his door and does her best to make sure her brother gets up so they can both head out. After several back-and-forth attempts to get him out of bed, which fail, Xingyu finally gives up and leaves him alone. Soon after, Su starts thinking about the awful things Liao told them about the 3 opponents they're going to face in the prelims. For starters, they're up against 2 out of the 8 regional feature teams, Yihei High and Jingmenqiao High. As for the last school, Lingquan High, they're known for their hyena-style play and can be deadly on the court when they want to be. If they want to make it to the knockout rounds, they need to beat 2 of the 3 teams in the group stage, which is already a tough task. Remembering something Mo told him earlier about how to win, Shu keeps racking his brain to come up with the best strategy to beat those guys. The next morning, when Jingbei High's students arrive at Lingquan High's basketball court, they stop to take in the professional setup, each of them commenting on the memories they hope to create there. Soon, one of them asks about Shu Xingze, but they find him all beaten up and holding a sign in front of Liao's camera, being forced to say some pacifying words. It turns out he told Liao he couldn't sleep because he was nervous, and this is his punishment. Eventually, Liao shoos him away from the camera and introduces the team to her viewers. Then she turns the camera toward the opposing team's coach and stops to admire how intimidating the guy is. When he spots her filming him, she quickly acts like she has no idea what's going on and tells her students to go warm up so she can look uninterested. When the coach finally looks away, she mutters about how intimidating he is and hopes her team can beat his. A few minutes into the warm-up, Deng Shuhao and another guy from Jingxi High show up in casual clothes to watch the game between the 2 low-ranked schools. At first, Deng complains about being tricked into coming to such a boring match, but the other guy tells him to just watch now that they're already there. Just then, Sima fumbles badly during warm-up, and the other guy nervously laughs, saying Jingbei's new team has some interesting players. But when he notices Liao getting close to Shu, he gets jealous. Deng gets irritated, realizing the guy only came to check out Liao. Liao notices them while scolding Shu and tells him to stop acting like a fool before he embarrasses himself in front of the school they badly want to play against. Realizing she's right, Shu composes himself and stares at them calmly. Moments later, Mo and his annoying little brother, Pai, arrive at the court. While making their way to their seats, Mo runs into his former teammate from junior high, now playing for Lingquan. Though surprised, Mo ignores him. The other guy, however, immediately recognizes Mo and tries to catch up. He even extends a hand for a handshake, but Mo walks away. Annoyed by being ignored, the player throws a ball at him to get his attention, then tells him not to forget what happened back then. Mo still ignores him and keeps moving. Just as the guy is about to go after him, Shu blocks his path and tells him to back off. When the player asks what Shu's problem is, Shu says Mo is his brother and he's just protecting him. The player laughs and tells Shu to ask his brother if he can still face those he once fought beside. Shu gets physical and orders him to stop stop. The guy grabs Shu by the throat and prepares to punch him. Luckily, before things escalate, the referee blows the whistle and gives both a technical foul, threatening to eject them. To avoid that, Shu tells the guy to prove himself on the court instead of running his mouth. The player releases him and says he'll show just how good he is once the match starts. Just before the match begins, both teams gear up and get into position. The referee tosses the ball up, and Gao, being the taller player, taps it to Sima. The first quarter kicks off. As the game progresses, Yunmo and his brother notice that Shu isn't starting for some reason, and only Coach Lee understands. On their first play, Sima passes to Duan, who moves past a few defenders and passes to Gao Zhan, who's wide open. Gao hesitates, but after encouragement from his teammates, he lays the ball in and scores their first point. He giggles and mumbles some positive words to himself. Meanwhile, Shu asks Coach Lee why he isn't playing. Mr. Lee tells him to calm down, saying he'll let him play once he's cooled off from earlier. When Shu tries to argue, Liao smacks him and ends up explaining what a technical foul is to Guan Xin, the SC president. After her explanation, she realizes who she's talking to and asks Guan Xin what she's doing there. Guan says she's there to support the school's new basketball team. Sima spots her from the court, gets excited, and after cheerleading her for a bit, goes into beast mode, blocking, stealing, and even scoring a three-pointer. After scoring, he mocks the group of death and wonders if they're just hype. Before Lingquan restarts the play, the player who argued with Shu glances at his captain. After getting a nod, he calls for an attack formation called Position 1. As Jingbei tries to figure out what that means, the player passes to his shooter, who does a pick and roll and easily scores a layup. When Liao tries to call a foul, the player tells her not to be naive. Now that Jingbei has the ball, Lingquan switches to full court defense. Sima, tightly guarded, passes to the team captain, who is also guarded. Eventually, Lingquan steals the ball and scores again, making it 5-4. When play resumes, Jingbei struggles to get past midcourt. Sima passes to Four Eyes, but the earlier player steals it, passes to a teammate in the corner, and watches him drain a three-pointer. As the game continues, Deng tells his friend that Jingbei is relying on a single point of defense, and Sima will tire out soon. Right on cue, Sima stumbles, costing his team another 2 points. Shu begs Coach Lee to let him play, but before Lee answers, He Xuan, the player from earlier, appears beside Shu and talks trash non-stop. Shu keeps his cool but glares at him, waiting for a chance to respond on the court. Later, Shu takes a bathroom break, and while washing his face, remembers everything He Xuan said. Angry at Mr. Lee for benching him, Shu walks out, determined to be in the next quarter. Outside, Yunmo surprises him, and says he shouldn't have stood up to He Xuan just for him. Shu says he doesn't care and did it for his friend. He goes on about friendship, leaving Yunmo too shocked to speak. Eventually, Shu makes Yunmo promise to join the team if they win, and Yun just nods. Shu tells him to watch out and heads off. During the next timeout, the players catch their breath and wonder how to break through Lingquan's defense. Sima, having recovered a bit, tells Duan to always be ready to receive his pass. Once the timeout ends, Sima keeps moving the ball until it gets to Four Eyes. Managing to escape the tight defense, Sima grabs the ball before the 8-second violation and makes a high pass to Duan. Being the strongest player on the field, Duan catches it easily, overpowers the last defender, and dunks over He Xuan like it's nothing. Watching this, Deng and his friend praise Duan's progress, and guess that his frame is why Lingquan's coach chose full court defense. Before the next play, He Xuan looks at his coach and decides to change tactics to stop Duan. When Jingbei has the ball, Lingquan places a player directly in front of Duan, preventing him from getting it. Realizing time is short, Sima gets confused about whom to pass to and charges toward the hoop. Forced to shoot, he misses. On the rebound, Lingquan grabs the ball and hurls it to the other end. He Xuan scores an easy layup before the first quarter ends, bringing the score to 16-7 in Lingquan's favor. After the buzzer, He Xuan walks up to Duan and calls all his teammates trash. Duan is about to react when their captain intervenes. He Xuan then turns to Shu and mocks him for sitting out the entire quarter. Instead of reacting, Mr. Lee laughs and tells the team to ignore the trash talk. What they need now is a strategy to counter Lingquan's hyena tactics. When asked how, he looks at Shu, pats him on the back, and says they'll use his speed in the next quarter. When the second quarter starts, Shu steps onto the court and ignores He Xuan's taunts. Realizing he's being ignored, He Xuan loses it and focuses entirely on Shu. The game begins with Gao Zhan going for the jump ball as planned. Gao gains a better view and passes to Shu, who runs past the defense and scores a clean 2-pointer. Deng and his friends smile, impressed. On their next possession, Sima lobs a high pass to Shu, who scores another layup. After proving his skill, Shu trash talks He Xuan, leaving him fuming. Seeing that full court defense is failing, Lingquan switches to man-to-man. Shu grabs the ball, charges toward the hoop, and when He Xuan tries to block, Shu passes to Duan, who dunks over him and tells him to stop yapping and focus. Now enraged, He Xuan grabs the ball and charges. When Shu tries to defend, He Xuan shoves him, causing him to trip. He leaps for a shot, but Duan blocks him effortlessly. As Duan lands, He Xuan steps on his ankle discreetly. Duan screams in pain, and the game halts. After assessing the injury, everyone agrees Duan can't play anymore.